Yeah, good to get a win on the road in Arizona. Hard place to win, both those schools. And like I said, after the game, was pleased on how our defense started so fast. Really did a great job containing two really good players in Khalil Tate and J.J. Taylor, forcing some turnovers, all those type of things. That was extremely impressive. And special teams was solid. Peyton Henry again, doing a really good job. And I think we're making strides and progressing each week in that. And then, second half, finally got a little something going on offense. And, hit a couple explosive plays and get a little momentum and rhythm going, and that can change some things. So, as always, we got a bunch of things that we're working on, and, better get them tightened up here pretty quickly.
How's Defisi doing?
MJ is doing well. He came home with us after the game, and he's doing well. So he got obviously a significant stinger, and our doctors and trainers are so awesome in terms of how quickly they respond, how careful they are with all those type of things, and got him checked out over there in Arizona at the hospital, and felt good enough to take him home, and got him checked out again here yesterday, and he was with us yesterday in the team meetings and all those type of things. So that stuff is always scary.
What's that like for you to go through as a coach when you're?
Well, it's scary. It really is. I mean, anytime you see a guy go down, and when the trainers react like that, and doctors, which is the appropriate way to react, they're very in tune to how guys fall and land and what it's looking like. They were out there before I even knew, anything. And so it's unsettling to everybody. But, you could kind of see how he was reacting, a little bit once he kind of calmed down. I think he was unsettled himself, like what was going on. And but by the time they got him out the field, I mean, you never know about any of those things, but you felt, better. He was moving and all those type of things. So, but all that stuff is scary.
There was no concussion or anything?
No. Mm-mm. Yeah.
Or losing any feeling? And
I think there was, like I said, I think he was kind of disoriented on what happened. It was when you watch the hit, though, we've looked at it a bunch. I mean, it was a shoulder tackle. I mean, it really was, just like you wanted. And now whether his head got involved, sometimes that's hard to see, sometimes but there's no concussion. And, at this point, at least. And so, I think we're trending in the right direction.
Chris, in your experience in the past, based on players that have got similar injuries, what's the typical time frame?
That's a good question. A lot of times when it's like those type of injuries, it's been more of kind of head related. In my experience, it's been like a concussion. A guy's like knocked out for a little bit or something like that, and so that's the concussion protocol, and you set them down for, whatever, a couple weeks to make sure everything's really good, but it's not necessarily that. So I don't really have much experience on this one here, but I know we'll be really, really cautious, like we always are. I mean, that's the awesome thing about where we are with this game. I mean, everybody's on top of this stuff, and there's no messing around with, head, neck injuries. Everybody's going to err on the side of caution, which is exactly what it should be. And there's certain protocols they take these guys through in terms of headaches or, strength coming back, feeling, all those things. So we'll make good and sure that he's darn ready to come back whenever that is.
And the timing of it, considering you have a bye week after this, is it almost like, let's just shut you down and, we've got time here, we can...
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even think like that. I wouldn't even think... bye week, and I mean, we'll just, if we had no buys, that wouldn't factor into this. We would just make sure we're going to do right by this whole thing, and always erring on the side of caution. Yeah.
So there's stories, I guess, about some speech that Easton gave in the locker room at halftime, or somebody spoke up and...
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Yeah.
What was the difference from what you saw from first half to second?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we got into a rhythm. We stayed on the field, hit a couple explosives. It wasn't like we went in there and like, okay, we had the same type of stuff on the game plan, and we're able to make a couple plays, and it was great to get Puka in there and kind of sparked us, and we really got no momentum going. I mean, we kind of talked about this after the game. The red zone was more frustrating than anything. We get huge momentum plays to get the ball, and then we don't do anything there. And that was, that's almost, we were going backwards, kind of deflating in terms of, even kicking the field goal. You're not wanting to do that. And so that was, really, I think that rattled everybody, the guys. And so that's kind of how, how the first half went. We were just kind of no rhythm whatsoever. We just didn't get anything going, didn't stay on the field, didn't convert third downs, those type of things. And then the second half got a little better.
Just as a kind of a game management or coaching thing, when they went and scored, they were down 24 and they scored, were you a little surprised they didn't try to go for two?
What was the
Liddell was in the game then at that point? They went
24 to what do we have, 17?
20.
Yeah.
It felt like, okay, you have 3 scores if you go for it, two scores, and they went and kicked the extra point.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious.
Yep. That did come up. Like, we're sometimes making sure we're ready to play 2-point defense if we need to. So that came up a little bit, but then we saw them run the PAT team out there, and that was that.
Would you have taken?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I think everybody's got to feel their time, their team, what their situation is. I mean, we're always trying to, especially when we kind of got when we got the 6 points off field goals, then all of a sudden things kind of get off a little bit. So you're always kind of going, okay, if we score here, if we kick another field, when's the 2-point thing and come into effect? And then there's always, do you want to mess with in the first half? Do you want to mess with in the second half? So we're kind of always paying attention to that.
What happened with Jackson Kirkland in that game, and what's kind of his status going forward?
Yeah, he early on kind of rolled up a little bit, and so we're still figuring him out a little bit. It's not anything long term, and we'll see how he looks tomorrow.
How do you think Vainu played?
I thought once he got settled in, that guy can play. I mean, there's no question about it. He's been getting a lot of reps in practice, and then you get out in the game, it's a little bit different, a little bit loud, a little bit noisy, a little bit money on the line, 3rd and 1, those type of things, and certain things show up. So I think it's good for him to go through basically that whole game and get game reps.
Kind of mentioned Puka there, kind of what he brought to the table.
Yeah, Puka, I think one of the things I enjoy most about Puka is really the energy that he brings. You see it making plays, and that's awesome, but he's a really great energy guy. He's a great energy guy. He's been here since he's been here. He's like really good in the locker room, and for a freshman to feel him like we do is great. And so now it's awesome that we're getting more involved and he's making plays. I mean, he was a guy that sparked so much of it.
Chris, how did Melee do starting in his hometown?
Yeah, I thought he did a nice job. I mean, that center position is obviously in the O-line. They're all important, but I think, that center position makes a lot of calls going on, a lot of different things, a lot of snap count things, a lot of adjustments, almost every play, whether it's run or pass, and it kind of all gets driven, a lot of it through the center. And, I thought he was very solid.
What do you guys like about Ariel Nagata at that inside?
Yeah. He's really a guy that can run. He's an explosive type player. We've kind of always been trying to figure out where the best position is for him, whether it's off the edge or inside. And, his whole career he's played more off the edge, so we've kind of leaned on him there and played him inside, spring ball, those type of things come. But then you start to water a guy down. And so I think the coaches just kind of felt like they wanted to get a little more speed on the field, and he showed up.
How important is speed at that position in particular in your guys' defense?
I mean, I don't know if there's a position that's not like speed of paramount important. I mean, I really don't in this day and age in football. Maybe the nose guard. He's got to be fast from, A gap to B gap. But the rest of the guys just have to run. And I think sometimes you think about those linebackers, they got to be stout, and they do. But so much is the lateral game and vertical game and passing and all those type of things that, he's got good physical ability when it comes to those things.
So when you ran back the tape, what do you think allowed you guys to get so much pressure with just base fronts, three-man fronts?
Yeah. I think a lot of times guys were just kind of winning their one-on-one blocks. I think that's what it comes down to. Sometimes the guys get doubled, and those are always going to be hard to win. But a lot of times when you're getting pressure like that, it's going to be the guys that are getting singled up, make plays one-on-one and get off blocks. And I think that's what was happening. And the nice thing to kind of go along with that was guys that were getting pressure. Khalil Tate is that's part of his game. Not part of a game. A lot of his game is not so much just the quarterback run in terms of the run game. It's the pass game where he's running around finding guys. So I think our coverage was really good. Guys staying on guys. And a lot of times those, Tryon and Ryan Bowman and all those guys were running sideline to sideline to make sure we get rid of that ball.
Sounds like, Coach, someone said post-game that you guys did some things with your safety pressures. I don't know, with Miles, that maybe that you guys had to put on tape before. Was there some exotic things that you guys tried to do?
Yeah, I don't know about exotic, but there's going to always be little wrinkles that we get going, and you get this deep into the season. You can see certain things, and if there's tendencies or anything like that, you try to bring something to the table without messing your guys up. That's always fine line.
When you watched on film, how did you feel about the way Asa played in his first start?
Like I said after the game, I thought Asa played real well. But what I was saying after the game is, every time Asa had been in the game, kind of starting with the BYU game, even though it was kind of into the game and, not super pressurized situation, he goes out and picks the ball off, and then the next game he gets in for, a handful of reps in more meaningful time and did a nice job. And so he is slowly just he's one of those guys, it's so awesome to see, you see him practice well, and then you put him in the game and it translates. And it doesn't always translate, but it really has been for him. And so I think it was awesome to get him in there a bunch. And, I think he's going to, I think the confidence will
Jacob's obviously Eason is obviously having a good season. Is there any aspect of his game, whether it's game management or technique and throwing or leadership or anything like that, where you'd like to see an uptick?
Well, yes, all those things. I do. I think all that he's doing a nice job. But like he said afterwards, he's more on the reserve side. When that ball's in your hand, naturally a lot of guys are going to be looking to you and your voice. And the number one way is to lead through example. And play good and do your job, which he's been doing. But it's also nice when he starts kind of speaking out a little bit and bringing something to the table there. And then the game management, is always something, because we're always changing certain things. And I do think he's an accurate thrower. He showed that. But there's going to always be a quarterback that's got a few throws. It's wish that was a little more accurate.
Taking initiative to talk to the team at halftime, that was a good sign.
I think that's always a good sign, yeah.
Again, in your history with your quarterbacks, have you ever seen kind of not so much an instant moment that kind of transforms what they do in leadership capability, but have you seen a guy literally kind of come out of his shell and the next thing you know, he's talking more and more and more?
Yeah, I think it's a slow process. I think the one thing about that is there's a bunch of different type of leaders, right? You got to be who you are. You're not going to all of a sudden stand on the locker room stool and give a fire and brimstone talk. That's not going to happen for a lot of our guys. But that's okay, But it is getting out of your shell a little bit and helping others. That's what the leadership thing's about is serving your program, your teammates, and So I always think about that. I always think that's such a weird question. I always get that. It's like, so-and-so's playing well. It's like, that guy's really becoming a leader. And I always say, like, what are you talking about? Are you in the locker room? Are you you on campus and you seeing what he's doing there? Because that's, to me, what the leadership thinks about. I mean, we got performance and then we got the leadership type of things. And it's nice when a guy's performing at a high level, doing his job, because then a lot of guys are going to pay attention to him. But to me, they're a little bit mutually exclusive, and a guy gets more credibility when he's performing at a high level. More ears are going to pay attention to him, but I think they're different things.
Looking ahead to Oregon, what makes their defense so difficult to throw on?
Yeah. Starts with good players. They got some guys back there that have played for now a couple 2-3 years. I think Andy's doing a great job. I've known Andy for a long time, and he's an awesome coach. He's got those guys very dialed. I think they're, so it starts there, and then their pass rush, they're a physical group. They just work like they're a rugged group. Even if you're blocking them, they keep working. And they got some guys that, have a lot of skill. So it kind of all fits together. I mean, you got to have it hand in hand. If you're going to have good pass coverage, they can't hold the ball forever. And you can't hold the ball on these guys.
How do you feel Sean and Savon complimented themselves in Arizona?
Yeah, I think it's good. They're definitely different type backs. I thought Sean McGrew ran well again. I thought Savon was, solid as well. But, there was one play, it was like, I think it was like 3rd and, 3 or 4. And we had an assignment error, and there's 2 guys that hit Sean at the line of scrimmage, and he somehow split them and fell forward. Like, to me, that might have been the most impressive run that I've seen the guy run in a long time. It was awesome. But like we've been saying all along, I think he's got good vision. He's slippery through there, and I think he's playing at a nice level for us.
Going back to Coach Apples, did you ever try to tempt him to come to Washington?
Well, I think all the guys when we came over here, Scott Huff, the same way. I mean, those have always been, my guys, and so then, it's always about what's best for them. And so sometimes when guys move or guys stay, they get more responsibility, one place or another. And so, when he stayed, he was going to get a lot more responsibility staying there. And so, that's why he did. But he's a heck of a coach.
How would you describe his style, and has it evolved now at Oregon?
Well, I haven't been with him for a while, day-to-day operations, but it's just, he's always a guy that he's a great guy. I mean, he's always just fit into the staff wonderfully, so everybody likes him. And he's smart. I think he's one of those guys that's always on this state of constant improvement and figuring out how to do a little bit better, but staying true to your roots and what you believe in fundamentally and philosophically and all those things. And I mean, those guys play at a high level. There's not assignment errors going on out there. I mean, you're not going to get anything easy on them. They got good players, and they're not going to bust anything.
How much do you notice the rivalry aspect?
I mean, when I first got here, that was always the question. And I think everywhere you go, it's always like, there's that question about it. And so it's like, really? So you're good if we don't pay attention to Stanford, and you're good if we don't pay attention to what, I just don't think like that, It's just, to me, it's like, okay, Arizona's the most important thing in our lives last week, and now we're on to this. And that's just how you operate. And, the rivalry things are great for fans and all those type of things. And, and I think rivalries, get going when teams, have good games against each other, and it's back and forth. And, certainly we've had some good games here in the last handful of years.
How much has our offense changed over the past couple of years, going from Helfrich to Arroyo?
Oh, yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, that's much.
Herbert's transition in the last couple of years.
Yeah, this is the pistol offense, so it's much different, and so that's a different. I mean, that's a different, different scheme, and they put their own version on it from, when Coach All was running it in Nevada and all those things. But Jim Astro was there with, Chris Alt and those two guys were, at the very start of that whole thing. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, we remember when it came out, and when it first happened, everybody's like, huh, what is this? And then we experienced it for 4 years with Colin Kaepernick. And that's when he was running for a bazillion yards and throwing for a bazillion yards. And so that was, we saw it from the ground up and how it evolved and all those things. And so, fast forward, they have their unique spin on it, but it's a power run game. And I think that's what's, any type of spread team, I think first and foremost, they always, 99% of them, want to be a run team, run the ball. And, that's how it was when Chip was there. And Mike Bellotti, back when it wasn't the pistol, but the spread, they were just running the heck out of the ball. And once you can do that, throwing the ball is a lot easier. And so they have their style of running the ball. It's a, run first team, and they got a great quarterback back there to complement it.
You mentioned, a guy like Asa getting better as he gets more confident. How do you manage the other side of that when Cam Williams starts you guys' first 6 games and then has to take a step back?
Yep, and that's that's not hard. That's hard on anyone, but Cam will be in the mix. He's going to be a really good player for us. There's no doubt. You don't play as much as he played, much good football. I think that whole game just kind of went like we weren't not planning on playing him, only a couple plays. It's just kind of how the game went. But he's been awesome. He's been working, and he will be in the mix, and he'll be a factor for us.
Where's Ty Jones at this point?
Yep. We're getting to that kind of point in the season where you're kind of trying to figure out how you want to, what you want to do with him, how you want to play him, those type of things. Whether it's the last of the games, or you pick and choose your games, and then how he factors in, because he really has not been factored in at all. And so, we're kind of in that figuring out process.
Is his hand at the point where he could go and play in a game right now, or are you still waiting for recovery?
No, he can play. He can play. He's been practicing full speed for a couple weeks.
Does he want to redshirt?
Yeah. It's, you get so far into the situation, and I think, players always think a little bit different than coaches, and, we're always in this together, but, it's just, you never know what's going to happen down the road, too, when guys, I want a red shirt. Well, okay, then what happens if something happens the next year? Then all of a sudden you could be in the same situation where you can't red shirt. There's red shirt rules, medical rules to get games back and all that, and a lot of times they don't understand that stuff. So, but you miss a bunch of significant games. I think guys are thinking, well, hey, maybe it's best. And we think that same way too, but you can kind of get into the gray area with him a little bit, what to do with him.
How does the 4 games kind of add to the complications of figuring out how you want to deal with these things? Well,
I think first and foremost, it's, I think all coaches like this. 4 game. I'm still one of them that wants no redshirting rules, but I think it gives guys hope, and at all positions. And the depth thing is just get into the season, you get injuries, you got to elevate a guy off the practice squad, so to speak, that hasn't been playing. So, I think it's a good thing all the way around. It's good for the players to kind of motivation. Now, it is hard for a guy that has not been taking really meaningful reps, whether it's, a freshman that you're going to play, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, here we go, we got this. It's a lot different. There's a lot of learning and growth and improvement goes on when a guy is actually in the mix somewhat, traveling with you, getting those type, as opposed to he's on the scout team and now we're going to elevate him up. It looks way, way different.
Is that dynamic also, is that maybe increased pressure on coaches to feel like maybe they need to play a player for a couple games just to keep them, like you said, keep them motivated, to keep them involved? Yeah,
I don't know if there's, I don't think we feel the pressure of that. I think we're always just trying to do the right thing by the guys. If they're going to be, if they can play and be a significant factor, then you want to play them. But what I think a lot of times happens is early in the season, there's a few freshmen that like right from the start are like major contributors, and part of that has to do with maybe depth. Well, it does have to do with depth and the skill, knowledge level of a guy that he comes in with, and those guys are impressive and rare. But then a lot of the other guys, you kind of just build and grow as the season goes on, so they might not be getting a lot like in the game, it doesn't look like, but there is a lot of growth going on behind the scenes, and I think you could see some of that with Puka a little bit.
Oregon just announced that Breland's out for the year down there.
Yeah.
What do you see from
That's
their
a bummer.
other kind of skill players, pass catchers?
Well, I think the one thing about Oregon that jumps out is their depth. Like, you really see that on defense, that they'll play some different guys. And I think in a lot of places, there's a drop-off when more guys are rotating in, and you don't feel that. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that these guys are I think they've stayed relatively healthy, maybe until this last game. You see kind of their same guys. And I think when you play a bunch of guys, that takes less reps on, and they can do that. But Breland's a heck of a player. He really was. He's played for him for a while and all those things. So anytime you lose a player like that, you feel bad for the kid.